Welcome to Thursday morning on Bike Racing Without Mercy. It's a tempo session with surges. This time 35 minutes, lower zone 3, 220 watts, 75% of FTP. Every 1 minute 50, 30 seconds at 410 watts, 137%. Here is the third 410 watt interval. $12 more to go. Now I've had 4 full rest days, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Had my colonoscopy procedure on the Tuesday. Procedure ready. Yeah, not the best look. Just had the MRI. The post-op nutrition. Won't know the results for a little while, but feel good. Therefore I'm going to continue to train and probably race on Saturday. Oh, 200 watts. I may well need an operation in the new year, but while I feel good, I'm going to enjoy the cycling. Although this is proper hard. Training difficulty 100%. 4th interval of 410 coming up. Coming up for the 11th, running out a mountain, need to turn around. I came back down. The lactic is excruciating. You can see after the 15th 30-second effort at 410, I've gone straight into upper zone 2, lower zone 3 tempo, getting the heart rate used to recovering at decent watts. It's come down nicely into the mid 160s. It comes up a little bit when I'm talking. Tomorrow, it's going to be another recovery day. 20 minutes, high cadence, zone 2, Victor Campanart style. Hone the high cadence skills, get blood flowing through the muscles, aid the process of recovery. Ready for the race, hopefully on Saturday. Now time for a bit of post-training nutrition. Well, a post-ride nutrition, save the carbohydrates, have been ingested, and that was a tough old training session there. Thank you, Ed. A lot harder in reality than it looked on paper. I thought it was going to be a fair bit easier than last week's session, which you may remember was 30 minutes at 220 watts, 75% of FTP, and then every 2 minutes spiking the power to 135% of FTP, circa 400 watts for 60 seconds. So there was 10 60-second efforts within the 30 minutes. Now today was 35 minutes, and I thought by having just a 30-second little mini sprint, but 15 of them, it would be a hell of a lot easier, but it made a big difference with only 1 minute 50 of recovery and just an extra 10 watts that we're aiming for in those 30-second sprints. Normalized power over the 35 was 282 watts, average power about 255 watts. So super difficult. Body is now primed to take on the nutrients, in particular to replenish carbohydrates to where you want them to go, i.e. to turn it into glycogen to fill the muscles rather than to fat tissue. So trying to keep the imaginary sponsors happy here from M&S with a nice spiced bun. Love these, super low in fat, great carbohydrates, taste amazing. Well, the law according to Bike Racing Without Mercy is it's deadlift for power and watts. Therefore it must follow that it's single leg deadlift for even power and watts through both legs individually. As always, the emphasis on trying to keep a nice straight back, knee out over the toe, and push through with the working leg, the non-working leg, the hips and the glutes to extend upwards. Well, after a couple of botched sets of rotating pull-up, I'm back inside to continue to work on the posterior chain, i.e. the back, the glutes and the hamstrings with the trap bar deadlift. And in my opinion, the trap bar deadlift is the single biggest bang for your buck compound movement there is. If I could only do one lift for the rest of my life, it would be the trap bar deadlift. That's why the only bar that I personally own is the trap bar. That's because you get 2 for 1, i.e. the benefits of a squat and a conventional deadlift in one magnificent movement. That's because the trap bar deadlift places more emphasis on the quads than the conventional deadlift, which is a bit more glute, hamstring and back dominant. Therefore it's perfect for the cyclist that's looking to develop power through the crank. Now, as always, the emphasis here is going to be on a nice, powerful movement, going nowhere near failure. I'm hoping to race tomorrow morning, therefore don't want to fatigue the muscles. So it's going to be knees out over the toes, push the ground away from me with my feet, and try and extend upwards powerfully and push through with the glutes and hamstrings to finish the movement. Also, I'm going to try and stand up straight and lock out the knees, because a number of you have been saying in the comments, I'm not quite locking out perfectly at the top. So I'm going to try and remedy that right now. And that felt good. Could definitely feel the extra emphasis on the quads, and hopefully in the replay, well, I'll see that I stood up nice and straight. No doubt in the comments you'll let me know. One more set of those, so that'd be 3 sets of 8. Then on to the raised press up. Well, speaking of big bang for your buck exercises brings me on very nicely to what I personally believe is the biggest bang for your buck recovery ride, courtesy of the legend that is Mr. Victor Campenas. He tells us high cadence is key. And indeed, on Ed Laverack's recent video with Victor, the great man himself reconfirmed that in the comments section. And the reason I love this, it takes just 20 minutes. So perfect if you haven't got a ton of time, like I have. And over time you build up to 20 consecutive minutes at 120 RPM, upper zone 1, lower zone 2. And it's perfect for spinning out the legs and getting blood and nutrients flowing through them ahead of a hard race the next day or a tough training session. And I've had it in the program about 4 months now. Love it. I definitely feel the recovery benefits as a result, and you get the added benefit of it emphasizing the mind-muscle connection. i.e., if you can work at high cadences like 120 RPM with pretty even left-right balance, I just dropped down to 49 there on the left, then at higher watts, it makes it that much easier to sustain those higher watts at kind of 90 to 100 RPM. And I've definitely found the benefit of that outdoors on the climb and in the racing. So this is highly recommended. It's been in the program, as I say, for 4 months, and it's staying in there. I always chuck it in ahead of a race day and sometimes ahead of a hard training session. Perfection. Thank you, Victor. Time for the post-exercise recovery. All the usual nutrition is going to be inhaled, but first I just wanted to share with you a typical stretching routine that I do either immediately after the exercise or at night in front of the TV. Critically, it can be done in just 3 minutes once you've got used to the movements. Now, while deep tissue massage, of course, is excellent, I don't know many people that have the time, let alone the money, to do that. And similarly, for me, certainly personally, I don't really have the patience to invest in some kind of half-hour stretching routine 3 or 4 times a week. So I've dialed this down to the absolute bare minimum, just 2 movements. There is a third that I may show in the future. And it emphasises, I think, flexibility that's beneficial for the bike, but also general health and athletic performance. And it's for the same reason that I also keep all my lifting to the compound movements, i.e. the pull-up, the deadlift, the single leg deadlift and the bench press, because all of those emphasise nice movement patterns as well. So starting now with the hamstrings and the hip flexors. Now, it will take a little bit of time to develop the flexibility. My arms are a little bit longer as well, which helps with this move. But shoulders back, chest up, and we hinge at the hip to come down to the floor. Now, you may not be able to touch the floor straight off, and you don't want to force the movement through the hamstrings. So just let the hamstrings loosen up, and eventually you'll get lower and lower and lower until you can touch the floor. Now, when you can touch the floor, you can build up to really increasing the pressure on the hamstrings as the muscles ease up. So I get my palms on the floor, I'm keeping my legs straight, and I extend my butt upwards and try and hinge more at the hip, thus. And I can feel a really nice movement through the hamstring here. And again, I just let the muscles get used to this position. They gradually ease up, and then we can extend upwards and hinge another time as follows. Now, I'd hold that for about 30 seconds. Let the muscles really ease up. Like I say, it will take time to build up the flexibility, but it's an investment worth making. We move then on to the quads. And this also stretches out the core very nicely as well. So starting in a kneeling position, we kind of just come back a little bit and we try and squeeze the glutes and push the glutes upwards to kind of feel tension on the quads here. Now, you probably won't be able to get all the way back, certainly for a week or 2, but what you can do is gradually just emphasise on going ever further back and just enjoying the stretch in the quads, letting again the muscles gradually relax and just go back a little bit further and further until you can increase the stretch. And then ultimately you get to a position where you can do this. And now what I do, I really squeeze the glutes hard and I extend upwards with the hips and the bum to really feel the stretch in the quads. And again, over the course of about 20 to 30 seconds, you'll feel your butt sink back down and the movement is complete, i.e. you've got a nice full range of motion. And both legs, quads and hamstrings should feel beautifully relaxed and basically ready to go for the next hard training session. That for me is time efficient, but also over the years has been proven, certainly for me personally, to be very effective. These movements are also good for improving your flexibility to get down deep with a nice straight back in the deadlift. Cheers.